Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Secure, Comply, Thrive, MFALS Redefines Document Management in Health, Safety and Environment webinar. My name is Jana, and I'm pleased to be here as your host for today's session. Before we begin, I'd like to make a few announcements. First, please note that this is a webcast webinar, which means that you will be in listen-only mode. We encourage you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the webinar. Secondly, we will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, and we encourage you to participate by typing your questions in the questions section. If we are unable to answer your questions during the session, we will follow up with you via email. Please note that this session is being recorded, and a copy of the recording will be shared with you once it is available. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce the speakers for today's session. Peter Buck, our Head of Risk and Regulatory Compliance, and Takif Tahir, our Senior Application Consultant. Now, I will invite Peter to the stage. Peter, over to you.
Thanks very much, Jenna. Warm good morning to everybody, and welcome to our webinar. Just a quick introduction to myself. I head up the Risk and Regulatory Compliance Department in EDMS. I have a master's degree in occupational health and safety, and have spent the last 30 years working in risk, safety, and environmental projects, mainly throughout Asia Pacific. Today, I hope to share with you some of the typical pain points when looking at enterprise HSE systems, and also some of the solutions to overcome these pain points. But firstly, let me give you a quick overview of our agenda for the session. We're going to kick off with a quick overview about EDMS, our company, then introduce our partner, MFALS. Then we go on to discuss why is HSE regulatory compliance so important, look at some of the hidden dangers in HSE systems, and how does it work in our MFALS platform. Then we'll go on to look at key capabilities and outcomes, and then I'll hand over to Takif, who will do a system demonstration. And then, as Jenna mentioned, we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Firstly, a quick introduction to EDMS. We started out a long time ago in 1999. We were originally a document management company, but these days we're actually a data management company where we spend much of our time looking at data, all the metadata associated with information. Over the years, we've done many projects and have existing 100 customers. We registered with all the government portals, the Telecom, Tanaga, MOF, etc. And when we started out, we were very focused on oil and gas, manufacturing, power and utilities, the highly regulated industries. More recently, we've branched out into other industries like healthcare, banking, infrastructure. So our mission is to really help our clients on their digital transformation journey. Yeah. So to help them automate and streamline their business processes, with the ultimate game of achieving improved business profitability, agility, and productivity. So over the years, we worked with many of the national and international clients. You can see here a lot of familiar logos, oil and gas mining, petrochemical, chemical, manufacturing, and the other sort of bucket is actually covers things like government infrastructure, utilities, and power, etc. A quick introduction of MFALS. MFALS is a platform to help knowledge workers to work smarter, and it revolutionizes the way that actually knowledge workers can automate their processes from document creation, management of workflows, all the way through to external collaboration. Some quick facts about MFALS. They entered the ECM market in 2005. They have over 500 employees, over 500 resellers, and they've got global offices throughout the world. In our region, obviously, we've got offices in Singapore and Australia support all our business in the region. So the MFALS work automation platform really covers document automation, information management, all the way through the client collaboration. And what is very different about their platform is that it has a patented metadata-driven architecture. And actually, metadata is the key to actually finding all relationships in information. not just finding a single document, but finding all the related documents. And that really helps them ensure regulatory compliance. And also, they have embedded security and embedded AI to actually make it a very fast and user-friendly platform. So why is HSE regulatory compliance important? So firstly, legal obligation. HSE regulatory compliance is crucial as it ensures that organisations meet their legal requirements set by local, national and international regulatory bodies. Non-compliance can lead to severe penalties, fines, or legal actions against the organisation. Protection of employees and public health. It helps in safeguarding the health, safety and well-being of employees, customers and the general public. This includes measures to prevent workplace accidents, exposure to hazardous substances and environmental pollution. Reputation and brand image. Adhering to HSE regulations enhances an organisation's reputation and brand image as it demonstrates the commitment to health, safety and environmental, hence fostering trust amongst stakeholders, including customers, investors and the community alike. And this can lead to increased competitiveness and market share. Risk management. HSE regulatory compliance aids in identifying, assessing and mitigating risks associated with workplace hazards and environmental impact. By implementing such measures to comply with these regulations, organisations can reduce the likelihood of accidents, injuries, environmental incidents and associated financial losses. And lastly, operational efficiency and cost savings. Improves operational efficiency and cost savings in the long run. Implementing safety protocols and environmental management practices can streamline processes, minimize your downtime due to accidents, reduce waste generation, and lower insurance premiums. Additionally, avoiding fines, penalties for non-compliance preserves financial resources. Okay. So this is what we call an HSE organizational maturity chart. So you've got two ends of the spectrum. You've got the vulnerable, who basically those organizations that just in their culture they accept that incidents happen. And in terms of their systems approach, they have no risk assessment, no systems in place, very poor investigation skills in terms of looking at incidents and accidents, and no monitoring and audits. And then, of course, at the other end of the spectrum, you've got the resilient companies. Basically, safety and health and environmental culture is just a way that they do their business. And within all their business systems, they have integrated risk assessment. They identify problems before they occur, and they're continually looking for improvement in their existing systems by doing auditing and doing root cause analysis to identify any flaws in their systems or within the actual culture. Of course, the majority of our clients, they are in the middle. They do have systems in place. They might be called what is compliant. So they have actually standards in place. It may not be ISO standards, but maybe corporate standards. They have risk assessment throughout existing systems, and they do casual or causal incident analysis based on event potential. So you can see companies that identify themselves on this chart is always a large area for improvement, and that's what we're going to look at today. So what are the hidden dangers? Well, here's the famous iceberg chart, basically looking at what causes events. Yeah, so you can see the unsafe acts, unsafe behaviors are often the initiators of things that end up becoming missed events, potentially harmful, then near misses. And then, of course, what management see actually is the KPIs at the top. Yeah, all the KPIs are tracking like serious events, fatalities, lost time injuries, etc. But it's really important to look at what's below the waterline in terms of all those hidden dangers. Yeah, so having to go through and make sure that you're doing all those actions, like doing root cause analysis, doing safety observational studies, and actually having all this information at your fingertips. Root cause of accidents, incidents, and unsafe acts and behaviour are imperative studies in order to change culture. As we saw in the previous slide, the culture mindset is important to change in a company so that it's a way of business, and looking at unsafe acts and unsafe behaviour is a way of doing that. So just looking at root cause, root cause analysis is a very, very important activity, especially in HSE, to actually is what we call lessons learned, looking at what was the root cause of an incident or an accident. And of course, when you do root cause analysis, it's a lot of information you need to gather, and it's from different sources. You need to know where, when, why, who, how, what, and just looking at those sort of key words, you can realize there's going to be a large amount of information from various different sources, and all that needs to be managed in a good manner. And here's a copy of the process safety triangle, and I've put this up because it's really important when we're looking at organizational culture. As you saw in the original culture diagram, there's many companies that are doing root cause analysis. They're learning from incidents, doing that incident investigation, and then they're identifying the flaws in their existing management systems, whether it's in the actual process control, whether it's in their HSE management systems, or whether it's in the oversight and accountability. But equally important is actually looking at the cultural cause analysis. These are cultural factors that contribute to near misses or incidents, and making sure that you feed that back into the system as well. So on the right-hand side, you've got unsafe behavior, to identify cultural causes, e.g. maybe lack of management commitment in terms of no resources or budget or lack of enforcement. It could be just not walking the talk. There's many companies that have got excellent systems in place, but implementation, change management is always an issue. They're not able to implement effectively. Actions speak louder than words. So it's no point having the best systems and the best manuals and process and procedures if you're not able to implement them and work on them. And of course, some companies are not having sufficient feedback on safety performance. So it does affect safety and morale when people don't really know where they currently stand in terms of their safety efforts and their safety performance. And also employees, contractors and visitors alike, they need to know what good safety, health and environmental management looks like. Because everybody's perception of risk, safety and health and environment is different. Very confusing chart, but basically this is how many companies who run HSE management systems, this is what they're trying to manage. So many systems, basically information silos. So they've got systems for all sorts of things. So it's basically system overload. So lots of point solutions covering HSE, which means that you can't see the wood for the trees. So they've got systems covering SOPs, they've got systems covering PLM, CAPA, business process management, audits, ERP, etc. So all these systems are working in isolation. And each system needs its own vendor selection process, its own contract, its own budget and licenses, and typically a hosting solution, and lots of data is going to need to be migrated into the system. And of course, completely different user interfaces. Thus, it's a learning curve for every system. And these all need to be formally validated as well. So in addition to these systems, then we have all our sort of Outlook and Office email and spreadsheet data that also needs to be managed and make sure that it's stored and shared and used in a collaborative environment. So what does it lead to? Basically, too many systems lead to information silos. So you've got multiple fragmented repositories, difficult to find information, and then low user adoption. And this is when you can have the best processes, the best manuals, but people are not able to follow it simply because the platform they're using doesn't allow them to follow it in a proper manner. So what we're looking at? Well, we're looking for one platform that manages all that information, keeps a 360-degree vision on all your HSE activities across the enterprise. and that is the MFiles platform. And what would be the key capabilities and outcomes of using this platform? Well, firstly, it's a centralized repository. So MFiles provides a centralized repository for all HSE related documents, including policies, procedures, incident reports, and compliance documentation. And of course, key benefit of that is that reducing enterprise information silos and having easy, up-to-date information for all employees, auditors, regulatory agencies will help improve transparency and compliance. Secondly, version control and audit trail. MFiles maintains version control and a comprehensive audit trail for HSE documents, recording all changes, revisions, and document history. Having this feature allows audit trail and document integrity, and it makes actually internal and external audits for ISO standards a lot easier. And it facilitates that accountability and transparency. Thirdly, regulatory compliance tracking. MFiles facilitates tracking of regulatory compliance requirements, deadlines, and certifications. You can set up alerts and reminders, ensure timely renewal of compliance documentation, such as training manuals and regulatory documents, whilst reducing the risk of non-compliance penalties. Data analytics and reporting. One of the features of MFiles is having robust data analytics and reporting capabilities for HSE performance monitoring and analysis. And this is obviously important to need to know where you are in your current performance. Organizations can generate customer reports and KPIs to assess compliance, identify trends, and drive continuous improvement initiatives, enhancing decision-making and risk management. As I mentioned before, MFiles will give you a 360-degree view on your information. MFiles uses its patented metadata tagging and classification to organize HSE documents based on attributes such as relevance, type, and location. So that ensures that key management has overall visibility on safety information and related processes. And lastly, root cause analysis. MFiles provides comprehensive document management and workflow automation tools to efficiently identify and address underlying cause of issues within the organization. And this is really key to enabling an organization to drive change management. Now I'd like to share a couple of use cases with you on HSE related use cases. So firstly, first use case is with INEOS PCG acetals. They're a manufacturer of acetic acid and is a joint venture between INEOS Corporation and Petronas Chemicals Group. The plant is in Curte, Trigano, and is designed, constructed, and operated to meet INEOS's world-class standards of safety performance. Yeah, withholding safety and environmental, no harm to environment or people, or as their highest priority. So we've invented a few solutions here. One is obviously having a centralized repository to support their operational excellence program, focusing on safe and reliable production. Secondly, we implemented MFiles for their HSE and quality assurance management group, with focus on incident management and management of change workflows to institute operational excellence. They already had, obviously from the Petronas INEOS group, they already have very vast corporate ISO standards and regulations. What they wanted from the system was actually to institutionalize that. And that is actually us going in there and actually helping them develop those workflows in MFiles. And then lastly, standardizing the document templates. They wanted to make things quick and easy so that every process started with a template, that everybody was using the same type of template. And this provides transparency and allows full document history for audit trail. So what are the benefits? Obviously, some key benefits there was obviously document governance and compliance, lightning fast searches, could find work any place, anytime, anywhere, could find the information, and ensuring up-to-date document template visibility. Another use case would be Borough Foods, Australia. Borough Foods is an Australian dairy ingredient processor. They produce market value-added dairy products to the global food manufacturing market. They've got a worldwide reputation for quality, sustainable practices, and production ingenuity. Borough Foods is a leader in Australia's dairy ingredient production and innovation. And they had a number of challenges. They needed improved systems that would position the organisation for further sustainable growth. They had manual processes that required physical signatures that were holding up the operations and making instant reporting very difficult. And then instant reporting was managed separately in a silo. And they wanted linking it to the entire chain of reporting together to make sure that product quality and HSE recurrences were not an issue. So after implementing these systems, they had major benefits in time saving. So basically a 50% decrease in the amount of time it took people to manually manage and control documents. That led to increased document management workflow efficiency, leading to better incident management and time savings. And of course, that also led to increased visibility to document change, issues, incident resolution, as well as saving time for the business. Okay, so that concludes my short presentation about the company, about MFiles, the platform, and how it's used for HSE and specifically incident management. I'm now going to hand over to Takif, who's going to run through an actual system demo on MFiles. Over to you, Takif.
All right, thank you very much, Peter. So before we jump into the demo, I'm just going to share one poll just to make our session a bit more interactive. Yeah. So let me just launch the poll. All right. So the question is, which aspect of regulated document management in HSE do you find most challenging? Yeah. So you can choose more than one answer, and I'll just give a few seconds, a few moments to answer the poll. Right. So let us wait for the response. Right, I can see some response over here. Let's just wait for a few more seconds. All right, so I think time's up. Let me just close the poll first. Okay, so it seems that a majority of you have some issue with document organization and version control, and some of you might have some challenges in terms of meeting regulatory reporting requirements, and also integrations, workflow management with other processes, etc. Anyway, we'll cover this during the demo, but first, let me just share my screen first. Right, let me just show my screen. All right, so I hope everyone can see my screen. Okay, so once you log in into MFiles, this is the home screen that you will see, right? So we have a few things over here. So before I move into the demo, I just wanted to briefly introduce some of the buttons over here. On the top here, we have the search bar, which of course you can do all the searching. You can search for documents, you can search for a particular object. You can also create documents and create non-documents object by clicking this create button, right? On the top here, we have multiple tabs. By default, once you log in into MFiles, you will see this all tab, in which it will consist of views. I will explain views a bit more detail after this. Then we have the recent tab. Recent tab is very straightforward, in which it will display all the recently modified or recently accessed documents. So if you have documents that you need to work on a daily basis, perhaps this recent tab is very useful for you. You also have this assign tab, in MFiles we have Assign tab because we have the workflow capability, which means we can assign someone to approve a document or to review a document. So in MFiles, if you are assigned to a particular document, that document or that assignment will be displayed here. So as for example, these are the assignment, these are the documents that might require my action or my approval. Yeah, you will also be receiving email notification. This is something that you can configure in MFiles. Then we have the checkout tab. In MFiles, if you want to edit the documents, you need to check out the document first. Then you can continue doing all the editing. Once the editing is done, in order to apply the changes in the documents, you need to check in the document back into MFiles. So later on, if you check out the document, that document will be listed here. And then we also have the pin tab. Of course, I mean, in MFiles, you can right-click any documents, click pin, and then all the pin objects, pin documents will be displayed in this pin tab. Yeah. Right. So before we jump into the demo, I just wanted to briefly explain the important concept in MFiles, which is metadata. Right. So in MFiles, we are dealing with metadata. So for instance, if I click one of the documents over here, for instance, something like this. If I click this document, then if I click on the metadata tab, I can see the metadata description, right? So the first metadata is class, right? So right now, this document here is using regulation record working copy class. And then in MFiles, when you want to create the documents or upload the documents, you need to specify the class first. Yeah. So after you specify the class, then only you need to specify the associated metadata properties with the class, with this class, right? So for instance, these are the metadata properties, the revision, description, scope, and all of these properties are associated with this class. So in MFiles, each class can have their own set of metadata properties, right? So for instance, if I click into another class, for instance, like this incident record over here, so it has, in MFiles, as I mentioned, we can also create non-document objects, for instance, like incident record, just for your data recording. Yeah. So right now, this object here is using incident record class, and then we will have a different set of metadata properties. Yeah. So just keep in mind, in MFiles, we are using this metadata concept, in which that first thing first, we need to specify the class whenever we wanted to create a document, and then based on the class, we will need to fill in the metadata properties that is associated with the class, right? And then you can also configure some properties to be mandatory. For instance, like this one, you can see this asterisk symbol over here. So this is the mandatory properties. You can also configure other properties to be optional. Yeah. So these properties here can be configured, depends on your requirements, and actually these properties will be very useful when it comes to retrieving a document. I'll show you later. Yeah. Right. So that is about metadata. Now let us move to the demo part of the webinar. So when it comes to document management system, when it comes to HSE related document management system, yeah, one of the main issue is document organization. Yeah. So we're dealing with a lot of documents, and this could be on how you manage your document structure, document folder, and also retrieving documents. Yeah. So when it comes to traditional folder management, for instance, if you're using something like your Windows folder or maybe file server, in which you need to specify the folder, yeah, it is very difficult for us to find a particular documents if we have a very complex folder hierarchy. For instance, you have multiple folder A, folder B, folder C. Under this folder, you might have a different set of subfolder, right? Under that subfolder, you could have another set of subfolders. So the hierarchy could be very complicated. So when it is very complicated, it is really difficult for us to find for a particular document, because you'll need to remember the folder location. That's the first thing. Not just searching documents. When it comes to storing a document, you need to remember the exact location of the folder hierarchy. And this is something that we wanted to to reduce, we wanted to resolve in M files, right? So when it comes to M files, especially in the searching part, we offer various ways on how you can retrieve the documents, because in M files we have a different, we have a different search mechanism, yeah. So of course, first thing first, you can use the search bar, in which you can just type in anything that you want to search. So this is the most basic way on how to search for documents, right? And then as you can see here, we have a few results over here. Then you can see in M files, any match, if you have that wording that you're searching, it will be highlighted in yellow, right? So in M files, we will find the match in 3 parts of the document. The first part would be in the document title, right? So if you have the word spill prevention on the document title, that will be highlighted in yellow. Another part will be in the metadata description. So in this case, we have the spill prevention in the metadata properties, right? So in this case, we don't have the spill prevention in the document title, but we do have that in the metadata properties, yeah. And also, if I click into one of the PDF documents here, there might be a case in which you don't have the specific word in the document title or maybe in the metadata properties, but you do have that particular phrase that you're looking for in the document content. And then this is the reason why you can see the word spill prevention is highlighted in yellow, because MFile will also find in the document's content, given that this document is readable, not scanned documents. If it is a scanned document, of course, we'll need to perform the OCR first to make it readable. Yeah, right. So that's basically the first way on how you can do your searching, just by typing the words in the search bar. Another way on how you can do search is by using the search filter, and this is where the metadata properties come into the picture. You can use the metadata properties to filter or to narrow down your search. For instance, I wanted to find a class, the document which is using the regulation record working copy, all right? So it could be anything else. It could be your SOP. It could be, if it is related to finance, it could be your contracts, your NDA. So you can filter that by using the class properties. Then you can add more properties to be filtered down. So for instance, I wanted to see all the regulation record working copy document which is related to, for instance, environment scope. Yeah. So what I need to do, I need to choose scope properties. Then I choose environment. Then as you can see on the left-hand side, everything will be filtered down based on my search filter. So if I click one of the documents here and go to the metadata, I can see the class is using the regulation record working copy, and also the scope is environment. So this is where you can use metadata properties to help to search for particular documents, right? So and another way, which is what is interesting about MFiles, is that in MFiles, we have these relationship capabilities. What do I mean by that? So if I expand this document over here, I can see all of the relationship that is associated with this document. I can see that, okay, this document is related to this reviewer. Then I can see what are other documents that might be related to this document. For instance, if I click publish version over here, I can see all the previous version and the status. So right now we are in the version 5, and all the other 4 version is already superseded. All right, so we have the relationship capabilities in MFiles. In the end of the day, you can find, at the end of the day, you can have the 360 view overview of your documents. Yeah, right. So let me just show you another way on how you can retrieve document, which is by using views. Right. So views is not folder. In fact, in MFiles, we are not using folder concept. There is no folder in MFiles, right? So what are views? If I can explain views in a very simple manner, previously I have demonstrated on how we can use the search filter, right? But then it would be very time consuming if I have to do the search filter all over and over again. What more to say if I have lot of properties to be filtered, right? So why don't we just save that filter? And this is where views come into the picture. Views is like a self search filter in which you can reuse the filter all over again. So let me just create one view very quickly, right? Then perhaps I just rename this view something like all regulation record working copy for environment scope. Yeah, so this is just some naming. Then this is where I need to define the filter. This is the one-time action only, right? Normally we just need to set up this one at the very beginning of the view configuration. And of course, similar to the search filter, I need to filter down the class, right? So it could be anything else, depending on what have been configured in your M files. Then the scope would be environment, right? So let me just click OK over here, right? Then I can see my own view here, right? So if I click this view, I can see all the documents related to that search filter. So this is regulation. So as you can see, the class is regulation record working copy, and then the scope is environment. So I can even add more column just to make the view a bit meaningful. So for instance, if I want to add scope column, I can just right click, insert column, then I can just choose scope. For instance, like this one. Then, oops, sorry. Let me just choose scope. We have scope over here, right? Then you can rearrange the column, then you can even remove the column. As long as you have that metadata properties, you can add that as column, yeah, so that it will be look a bit more meaningful for you to find for particular documents, right? So let me just go back to the previous screen. So in the future, if you add one more document, working copy documents, and also using the scope environment, it will be automatically populated in this view as well, yeah, because it matched the filter, right? So I just wanted to explain a bit about views. So currently I have created my views. My views means that this view is only visible to myself, right? So meaning to say that every MFiles user, they can create their own view in case that they have a preferred way on how to set or filter search, yeah? So they can have their own views, right? And you can also have common views. Common views is normally configured by the admin, and everyone will have the same view. Yeah, everyone can see this common view. So this is something like a standardized common view, which everyone can see. So if we can do something like this, right? So if I click one of the view here, perhaps under this view, you might have a different set of view. So for instance, I wanted to see all the release documents, then it will list all the documents over here, right? Perhaps maybe I wanted to, maybe I wanted to group them by scope. So since we have that metadata, we can create another view which will automatically group them by scope, right? So if I add one new scope, it will automatically populate one new scope over here. So for instance, if I go to environment, I can see all the related documents, yeah, which is grouped by scope. So at the end of the day, in M files, you can search for a particular document via multiple views, right? There's no need to remember the folder location because we are not using the folder concept. You just have to upload the documents, specify the right metadata properties, and then you can just retrieve that documents via multiple approach, via multiple views, which is more time effective, right? Okay, so that is the search function in M files, right? So now I'm going to create another thing. Since we are in this HSE related demo, I'm going to create something which is related to incident. So perhaps I wanted to report something. So what I can do, I can just click create button here, then I can click incident record. Right, so in M files, we are not just limited to documents. We can also create non-documents object, for instance, like incident record. So this is not document, but rather than something like a data or like a record for your usage, yeah. And then the incident, you can have something like a drop-down list, right? You can have a free text, for instance, warehouse hash. Then you can do something like a description over here. So this metadata properties is can be configured. depends on your business requirement. Yeah? Then I need to specify myself as a reporting person. Right. So if you can see over here, right now we are using the incident management workflow. Right. So assuming that I am reporting this issue here, then the rest of the field I will not. It is not necessary for me to fill in. So I'm just going to click create. Right. So I just create the incident record, and we also have this incident record view over here, in which we have filtered that down. So as you can see that this is the incident record that I have created just now. And as you can see, in this view, you can see a lot of incident records that have been submitted by the other as well. Then you can customize the column to have a meaningful data. Right, as you can see, we have some record which is still in investigation, still in initial review, and some of them is already closed. Right. So once I fill in everything, all right, assuming the reporting part is done, then I can just submit this for review. Right. So perhaps maybe in your business processes, before assigning someone to attend this issue, perhaps there might be some team to review this issue first. Right. For instance, I am also the reviewer. So currently this incident here is now under initial review. So what I can do, I can just perhaps review this description very quickly, and then I will assign someone. So let me just assign myself over here just to make things easy. Then I proceed to investigation, right? So this is where the investigation officer will do all the stuff. Yeah, will do all the actions in which it will investigate the issue, right? And then, assuming I am the investigation officer, then I can perhaps classify the root cause category. Oh, it seems that this issue here is related to, there is no proper documents related to this process. So perhaps I can do something like this. There is no documentation, and then the root cause analysis is something like this. Lack of documented inspection, and the corrective action, we need to implement some sort of proper documentation for this particular process. Yeah. And then in order to do that, I am assigning this to someone, right? So it could be a specific team, it could be a specific individual, right? So assuming that in your business processes, before we can proceed with the implementation, perhaps someone needs to review my corrective actions and my root cause analysis first. Then you can just send for review, right? And then one particular team will be notified to review the corrective action and all those stuff. Yeah. So this incident management workflow can be customized. Obviously, the one that I've demonstrated is a bit more simple. But if you can also, in other words, you can customize the incident management workflow based on your business processes. Yeah. Perhaps it could be a lot of layers of approval or reviews. Yeah. Right. So in case that one of the incident record is closed, it will be something like this. It will be, the status will be closed, and then we can also do something like whenever there's an incident record, we will automatically create the incident attachment, in which if I just read this document, it will come out with this PDF in which you might have your own form. So perhaps we can generate this one, right? And then we can also generate the signature page, render the signature page, and record all the timestamp that when this particular person approved this incident, and etc. So this is by using the e-signature and also the PDF rendering module. Yep. So this is the incident record submission part of the demo, and then yep, just like you mentioned, there is someone mentioned you have some challenges in terms of meeting the regulatory reporting requirement, right? So when it comes to reporting, MFiles have multiple ways on how you can do reporting. For instance, like this one, we have this view which we have configured the column and add the necessary column. Of course, you can add more column. And if you want to extract this record here in a CSV form, what you can do, you can just right click, export, then export visible columns only. I don't want to export files. You can also export files. Then I can just click OK. Then maybe I can just HSE report sample, click save. Then I show in folder. Let me just click this HSE sample. Then it will be something like this, right? So it will follow the similar view and similar column that we have defined. Yeah. So perhaps maybe you will use this kind of CSV file for your reporting process and etc. So this is one of the ways. Another way is you can also integrate you can also integrate M files with your third-party reporting application. So in case if you have your own third-party reporting application such as Power BI, you can integrate that so that you can have some sort of graphical kind of report. In our case, we are using another third-party tools which is called Domo, right? And then this application can be integrated with the M files. M file will export all of the data, and then this reporting application they can comes out with some kind of a graphical kind of report. So based on this report here, I can see that most of our issue is related to no documentation, and depending on that reporting application, you can also filter down the search, filter down the reports. So for instance, if I choose injury, you can see some of the charts are automatically change, right? So this is something that you can do in terms of reporting. You can integrate that with your third-party reporting application, right? So now let us go back to the demo. We just now I've created one incident, and that one incident is related to the root cause is something related to there is no proper documentation. So I wanted to create a document for this. So in M files you can create documents. And this is where we'll be using templates, right? So I will show you very quickly. Click documents over here. Then perhaps I need to specify the class first, right? The regulation record working copy, and then I'm using this template over here, right? Then of course I need to fill in the description, metadata properties. So I just key in a few things. Oh, sorry. So this one is today, description. Scope is perhaps safety, right? Then I can just fill in all the mandatory item over here. So let me just choose myself as the approver and reviewer just to save some time. Revision is 0. Right now, let me just click open for editing, right? So M files will automatically launch Microsoft Word. And then as you can see here, since we are using template, the template is what template does is that you can reuse your own template, and then all the metadata properties that we have specified will be automatically populated in the location that you have defined. Yeah. So in other words, with the template, you can reduce the issue something. I mean, we can prevent issue something like someone is using a previous version of template, and then there might be some inconsistency of the templates used by your users, by your employee. But with the template, we can standardize all the templates, and then you can just continue working on your documents. Let me just randomly generate some paragraph, and then you can just add this summary of change very quickly, right? So what's it now? So this is something that you can do. Then you can just continue working on some of the content of the document. Yeah. Right. And then you can click save. Then I can check in the document back. Right. Right. Since I am creating the working copy, I can go to the working copy views. Right. Regulation record working copy, and then go to the safety scope here. And then as you can see this document over here. I can sort that out by that modified, and then perhaps once I have filled in everything, I can just, by using the workflow capability, I can send for review, right? Then I need to key in my credential because we are using e-signature. Then I will be assigned to this assignment because I am the reviewer. You can also go to this assign tab. You can see this document is assigned to you. As you can see, this is the assignment. If I open this expand this assignment, I can see the related documents, right? So assuming that everything is okay, then I can just click approve, save, and key in my credentials, right? So, and then once I approve this document, if you see on the previous screen, that document is now moved to another stage in which waiting for approval. So just now I sent it for review, then after the review approved, then it will go to the final approval. You can have multiple reviewer, multiple approval, depends. That can be configured depending on your business process. Yeah. So as you can see over here, if I expand this one, I can see signature object because we are using e-signature, and then this signature object will consist of the timestamp, who approved the document, when they approved the documents, and this can be deleted. This is purposely for the audit, audit trail, right? So that is how workflow works. So you don't have to manually send that document via email for approval. Everything can be done via mFiles, right? So another thing that I would like to show to you when it comes to document management and related to HSE is I wanted to show something related to version control, right? So right now I have this one document here, revision 6. Revision 6 is, if you see this one, this is still a working copy, right? So if I expand this document, I can see the relationship, just like I mentioned just now. Then I can see all the 5 versions. And currently the revision 5 is released, which is public or effective. The other 4 revision is superseded, right? So perhaps if you're using traditional folder management, what we always do is that when we approve some documents and publish some documents, you need to manually change that document, maybe in your intranet portal, or maybe move that current document to a superseded folder and then move the new document into a published folder. But since we're using version control in mFiles, everything will be done automatically. So right now we are revision 6, working copy. I'm just going to approve this one, and then what you can see, let us approve this document, which is assigned to me. I am the final approver. I will click save. And as usual, I need to key in my credential because we're using e-signature module. All right, let us give that some moments. Right, so if you can see here, if I refresh this very quickly, now the revision 6 is now effective. And at the same time, what mFiles does in the backend is that it will create a separate copy in PDF and mark that as released or published, while the previous revision 5 will be automatically superseded. So let us wait for a few moments because mFiles is processing that into PDF. So if I can expand this document over here, as you can see here, now we have revision 6, which is using the published copy class, and then the revision 5 is already superseded. Right, and then as you can see, perhaps maybe for all the published document you want to control the permission, this is where you can do all the read only, perhaps, and also you can do something like all the superseded will only visible to a certain user. So this is something that we can do when it comes to version control. So it really reduces the time managing all the version control documents, yeah? Right, so now we have revised one document and create new documents, but the process is not just until that point, yeah? So in mFiles, whenever you create a new document or whenever you revise a new SOP and there's a new version, what we can do, we can also notify everyone that there is a new version of a document. And you can also do something like you can ensure everyone aware of this new version. Yes, in this case, I have revised the new version of that SOP, which is revision 6. And I need to ensure that everyone is aware on that new revision. So mFiles will automatically create a learning object and then assign it to everyone. Yeah, for instance, if I expand this one, I can see, okay, I need to learn this version 6. So I need to go through that documents. And then once I go through that documents, I can just change the status to read and understood. Right? And then as the admin, you can also track this. So if I have also create a learning record view. So if I go to this metadata here, I can see all training record group by document just to make things easy. We have this revision 6. Now I can see only this particular person already acknowledged the documents and learned the document, while the other 3 users have not yet read the document. So we can track this status of learning with mFiles. So in other words, we can reduce the numbers of issues related to users is not aware, our employee is not aware of the new revised document. So perhaps maybe currently when there's a new version, you need to manually publish that in the intranet portal, and then, or maybe you need to distribute that via email. But with mFiles, you can do it in mFiles, and what's more interesting is that we can create this learning object to make sure everyone acknowledge the new version or the new document. Yeah. So to summarize, with mFiles, we can reduce your time managing documents, searching documents by using the metadata. You can also create non-document objects like incident record and integrate that with your third-party reporting applications. You can also create control documents, version control using version control module, and then we can also ensure everyone aware with the new version or the revised version of document. So at the end of the day, we can pretty much covers everything in mFiles. Yeah. So I think that is all for my demo today. If you have any question, feel free to ask in the Q&A session. I will pass this session to Jenna. Jenna, over to you.
Thank you, Take. Thank you, Take, for the great demonstration. So now we have a few minutes left for Q&A, and I note that some of you have already submitted your questions in the question section. So we'll just proceed to the questions that's already here. The first one is, since this is a controlled document, we are very concerned on where our document is stored. So can we implement mFiles on-premise? All right, so the answer to that, yes, you're able to implement it on-premise. So what mFiles does is mFiles provides the flexibility whereby clients are able to actually choose whether they want to implement either on-premise, on cloud, or even hybrid. So the answer to your question is yes, it can be on-premise as well. Right, let me see the second question. Okay, the second question here says, what difference does it make if we need to fill in all the metadata when uploading the document? I believe that will be time consuming as well, right? Takif, would you like to take on that question?
Yep, sure. So the question is, let me just see the question again. Oh yeah. All right. So I think this is a very good question. So first thing first, you need to understand that metadata properties can be defined. So normally we suggest not to have a very long list of metadata property. Otherwise, it will be too much time consuming. Or do not have a very short list of properties. Otherwise, it will make you difficult to search for a particular document. So one thing, metadata properties can be defined. And then this metadata filling is just one-time action. So you just need to fill in the metadata, then everything else will be automated. For instance, like the changing of revision, the changing of status, and then all the searching, all the views will be done automatically. Yeah. But if you're using traditional folder management, you need to manually move that to a particular folder, and then if we revise that document, we need to move that into another folder, which will actually hunt you forever. But with mFiles, just the initial stage, we fill in the metadata, and then everything else will be automated. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Take, for the explanation. The next question that has been raised is that, okay, we have a situation where we already have all the ISO standards ready on HSE. But the problem is that we have trouble getting the employees to adhere to it. So how can mFiles help to ensure that users are using the system properly? Peter, would you like to take on that question?
Okay, thanks, Jenna. This is a really common issue. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, many companies got excellent documentation, standards, processes, and when the problem comes to actually implementing it. Now, if you're not having proper workflows that people have to follow, starting with templates and then a proper institutionalized workflow, then it's really hard to make sure everyone's actually following the same process. So it comes down to change management. So getting everybody on board, and the worst thing you can do is take all your HSE procedures and documentation and just put it into a digital process. That will not be user friendly, and it won't be easy to use, and it won't achieve the objective. What you need is that obviously when we come into our clients, we look at their systems and we actually look at how we can simplify. Translating manual documentation and processes into digital format is quite an art. to make it user-friendly, make it simplified, and achieve the end result. Because if you want user buy-in, if you want that change management to be adopted, you need to make it user-friendly and you need to make it achieve the result. So reducing the number of steps, having drop-down menus, auto-classification, auto-document numbering, all this makes the user's job a lot easier. And they will then adopt the system and they will use the system, and you'll get much better compliance.
Okay. All right, thank you, Peter, for the explanation. We actually do have a few more questions that has been raised. However, it is already 12 p.m. and we do not want to take much more of your time. So these questions, perhaps we'll actually answer them via email to those who have raised these questions. So, all right, so I believe that is all for today's session. We would like to thank everyone for joining the webinar, and we appreciate all the questions that has been raised. So all the questions that is pending, we will shortly send an email to you. And if you have any additional questions also after this session, please do not hesitate to email us, and we are happy to assist you on it. So thank you again, and I hope everyone has a good day. Goodbye.